My friend just got a boob job and she looks so beautiful. I'm inspired. I'm going to get a rose done on my shoulder using scarification tomorrow.
Some body modification is idolized, like boob jobs, nose jobs, or tummy tucks. There is a stigma with things like piercings, tattoos, and scarification.
But why? What's the difference?
Using scientific research
And our own personal stories.
we are going to form
A dating hypothesis.
In conclusion,
It's biology.
it's presumptive.
It's hypothetical.
It's interpretive.
Hey everyone, my name is Kayla.
And this is Rachel with Dating Hypothesis. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Today we are talking about body modification and beauty standards. Who sets that standard, and what does it do to us as individuals and as partners in romantic relationships?
It's all about letting men sexualize us. From deep African neck stretching to Hollywood's tummy tucks.
I'm pretty sure it's all about women sexualizing men, from Incredible Hulk muscles to metrosexual clothing styles.
Is there a culture on this planet where men do not dictate the beauty standards?
Which culture has no external based beauty standard?
If the blind community can mate and have successful relationships without having to be a certain size, shape, age, why can't I just be myself? Why is the sighted community such assholes about the way our flesh packaging has to look?
Let's begin with what men are attracted to.
Anime, comic book drawn women, and porn hypersexualizes their female characters. They get drawn more nude than clothed with cleavage for miles. Why? Does it help flesh out their character?
Flesh out the character.
I mean, it certainly doesn't add to the character's development.
Does over-sexualization add to the plot line, make more money, or just get guys off? Women are drawn that way because it makes 8 times the sales.
Comic books, porn, and girly magazines all use women with a certain hip-to-waist ratio. That ratio has negative stereotype connotations about a woman's cognitive ability. Why? Is it important for sexualized women to be dumb so men don't have to think about what is going through her mind while he treats her like a cum rag? I have that hourglass figure. I started developing it at age 13. People started treating me like I was stupid as soon as my waist was smaller than my boobs.
There was a guy back in high school who was hot as fuck. He could have had anyone he wanted. People assumed he was dumb. You know, the stereotype, dumbass jock. He wasn't. Dude was smart as a whip. Something in our societal mindset puts people in a box. You're dumb as a box of rocks if you are pretty or handsome. Like, what the actual? Genetics are not mutually exclusive there, folks.
As a child, I hated the sexual attention, but I was also grateful I wasn't ugly. I got to skate through life on my looks. Beauty privilege is real. Let's face it. When men want you to fuck them, they're willing to spend money on you.
I knew guys who would use their good looks to get the smart girls to do their homework in school. Guys could get away with certain behaviors because they were handsome. If a not so handsome guy said certain things, women would be repulsed. The resting bitch face applies here as well. If a hot guy looks angry or smoldering, it's considered sexy. But women get told to smile if they don't look like a happy fucking tampon commercial.
Being beautiful has its downsides. The worst thing about being beautiful is all of these sexual assaults. That sucks. Walking through a crowded concert is like being the main attraction in a petting zoo.
People will straight up grab you while you are walking through a crowd.
Yeah, I like to call it a molestifest. I'm glad I'm not ugly, but being beautiful sucks in its own way. There are days I want to low profile it. I hate being attractive. I wear baggy clothes. I don't brush my hair.
More than once, I have been wolf whistled or groped at a dance. At a standing room only concert, I was stuck with a horny Harry attempting to get a little bump and grind action. Do I have curves? Yes. That doesn't mean I'm looking for action walking down the street, you twonk.
Some men behave like I put my breasts in their eyeballs on purpose. Just because I was born with big tits does not mean that I am putting them in your eyeballs. They're just there. They're big, naturally. I didn't grow them for you as you walked towards me today.
You don't have Insta boobs?
No, I don't.
What is it about society and why do we pressure each other? Why does the word ugly even pertain to physical attributes? Ugly should define negative social behavior towards another person. I have seen people with ugly behavior towards other people. Thinking a person's physical body is ugly is an ugly thought to have. It points out one of the many ways our society is sick. I wonder why no one else sees this. I wonder why it's encouraged.
I have known 2 women in my lifetime that were incredibly beautiful. Both of these women hated their nose. The first one was when she was 13 years old, so this was like 20 years ago. She was so beautiful. When she would talk about her face and how much she hated her nose, it broke my heart just listening to her. The other one is recently. She's 21. This was last year. She wants to get a nose job. She stares in the mirror for hours, wishing she had the money to get it fixed. She searches for boyfriends that might be able to afford to fix it for her. The sick thing is, she's beautiful. There is nothing wrong with her nose, but she uses makeup to hide her flawed face.
I would love to hear any male listeners' opinions on the expense of beauty products and how it affects their relationships. When we are teenagers, we get the cheap makeup, but when we get older, we spend more. Concealer can cost $40 a bottle. I spend around $100 to $150 on makeup a year on the years that I don't wear that much. If we are saving up for a bigger purchase, I get the cheapest makeup I can find. It would suck to be in a relationship with someone spending all of our income on beauty products.
My friend uses makeup as a cheap alternative to body modification. She paints her nose thinner, her eyes bigger, her cheeks hollower. Most women do, even after they get plastic surgery. Like, when is it enough? When will we be pretty enough? I know 2 people that get regular Botox injections and have boob alterations. The attitude going into a procedure has this underlying tone to it. It's very determined, like they're proving something to somebody. They're both cocky and insecure simultaneously. Before a procedure, they give off this sense of being able to afford it. So there's almost like this air of wealth to it. They go into a procedure with a sense of maintenance. They know they're not pretty enough, so they're fixing themselves. They're taking measures to make themselves good enough for society, their partner, and themselves, which means that they're also radiating this brokenness, a feeling of being ugly and deficient. But they're proud that they can afford it. They're also arrogant that they're getting it, and it shows just a tinge in the way they speak, like they know everyone's jealous. Afterwards, they radiate this relief, this justification. You can watch how it cuts deeper and deeper into their soul every time they get something done. There's this hidden dread waiting for the compliments afterwards. Compliments they want, but when someone shows approval of the procedure, what does that mean? Did they really look that bad before? Do they really look that much better after? If a friend or family member says, "You don't need that," does that person just lack taste? Or are they jealous that you get to get something they can't? Because it's normal for women to get jealous, and every procedure locks in the need for the next procedure. Because if all of this is true, then how screwed are they if they stop getting procedures done?
I'll be honest, I'd love a little lipo, a tummy tuck. After having an over 9-pound baby, I could slap someone with my belly sag. And when an event comes up, or the second I have to look good, the first thing on my mind is, how can I tuck in this mommy tummy? My second thought goes to my alternative. How are folks going to look at my ink and piercings? So would I get beauty procedures? Hell yes. But not if I have to pay for them, because that cost would cut into my tattoo budget. As an au naturel, even after having 2 kids, I fucking love my tattoos and piercings.
My body is not all that. I would spend on a tattoo way before a cosmetic procedure.
People getting alternative lifestyle modifications are enhancing themselves in artistic ways that are sentimental to them. It seems to boost their confidence and increase their pride.
I've noticed that as well. A very different vibe than people getting procedures done. When friends or family get ready for a tattoo, piercing, or scarification, they're excited. They spend a week or years thinking about the location, color, size. They even let friends collaborate in the artistic design of it.
My body art has meaning.
Body art tends to be meaningful, but what does cosmetic surgery mean? It's just, these lips. They're just so meaningful. Alternative body art had nothing to do with making ourselves more sexually attractive to the male community at large. It's about expressing ourselves.
Is cosmetic surgery attractive? I have seen those photos of the Hollywood celebrities that look ghastly after dozens of surgeries. It's not always a benefit. Sometimes a person is more beautiful and surgery just make it worse.
Agreed. In Arizona 20 years ago, my friends and I went dancing at our favorite bar. At night, they were having a wet t-shirt contest. The owner of the bar had a walking Build-A-Barbie girlfriend. Everyone knew Build-A-Barbie was gonna win. It was a given. The contest was starting, the girls were lined up, I was in the corner talking with people when I start hearing the crowd go particularly crazy over this girl they're voting on, and I look up, expecting to see Build-A-Bear, right? Because he knew everyone was going to vote for her. On stage, there was a 13-year-old girl who had snuck into the bar with a fake ID. This kid had no boobs. She was flat-chested, flat-butted, thin-bodied, and she's bouncing around the stage just like freaking jubilant. The crowd was clearly not sexualizing their cheers. They genuinely liked this kid's personality. She was fun, she was having a good time, she was kicking it on stage. The owner starts getting pissed. He starts lording over each girl, trying to get the crowd to cheer and vote so that he can see who's voting, and he's paying attention to when you're voting. Every time he gets down to this joyful, giddy little teenager, she's not proud and snooty or acting like an entitled bitch like guess who? Guess who won? Pissed off the owner's girlfriend. Pissed off the bar owner. Backstage, everyone could hear her just raging at him for like a half an hour. We forget how just being happy is beautiful because neither of them was sexy, but one of them was beautiful.
Natural beauty is fine when you're 13, but age kind of kills our looks.
Yeah, I don't really like what you just said.
I don't.
I disagree. Age doesn't kill my looks, bitch. I'm fucking hot as shit. I'm almost 50. I'm going to be 49 in a month. This is still killing it.
What procedures would you get done?
But that being said, yes, obviously I would get procedures. My boobs are the saggy mom boobs. I would get a boob lift. I would get Botox for wrinkles, liposuction for the wings under my arms. I've got the grandma wings going on, but only if I had a lot more money lying around. Certainly not when my finances are sketchy. I think cosmetic surgery negatively affects relationships when a person begins to look so different that their mate finds them unattractive. Or imagine your girlfriend coming home with lips all sprouted out and she wants you to kiss them and you're like, yeah, let's just suck on that filler. Like, I don't know if I could get into that, but I guess men really are that visual. They care more about how she looks than how her flesh feels in their hands or in their mouth, on their lips. I don't know.
What about when a partner overspends on surgery? If you have a dream to own a house together and a partner is constantly spending money on their face, is that damaging to the relationship?
Does your husband mind if you spend money on tattoos?
He doesn't love it, but he tolerates it. I love my piercings. At one point, I had my belly button done along with 7 different ear piercings. I don't wear the belly ring anymore after kids. I like them. They make me feel confident and strong. I am a huge Harry Potter fan. The tattoos I have are both Harry Potter related. One on my shoulder blade has a special meaning though. It says, "I solemnly swear that I am up to no good." And I got that at the start of my husband and I trying to have kids. When we decide our family is complete, our kids' names will go under it and just below their names will be mischief managed.
Most of my art has 0 meaning. I wanted swirls to accent my curves. There was no drawing involved. I told the artists to stay in a specific area and follow my body's curves, but I do have 10 people's names on my body. These are people that I have loved the most in life, that I know loved me back in some capacity.
And you have scarification, right?
No, that's white ink. And it gets me the most negative feedback. People think it's scarification. I've gotten some really nasty comments from men after a date when I wouldn't have sex with them. One man actually said, It's not like you have a lot of prospects with that self-cutting cover-up. Why would you want to date someone you believe has mental issues like that? I swear, there is a subset of society attracted to women with self-esteem issues, the predatory type. I have people that won't believe me that it's white ink until they touch it and see that it's flat and not raised.
It's funny how some people only date people with tattoos or alternative body art. Some people are specifically drawn to others that have body art similar to their own.
Maybe it's a low-key fetish. For others, they're trying to find their own kind. I get bothered by men that seek out trauma victims or survivors so they can prey on them. Maybe that's my issue with cosmetic surgery as well. Society inflicts beauty standards to lower our self-esteem until we internalize victim mentality and we're more easily manipulated.
Abusers use past traumas to get inside the mind of a victim. It is possible men who encourage plastic surgery are creating a victim mentality when they say things like, "I want you to look so perfect with your tiny curves and perfect nose," implying you are not perfect. Rachel, you have tiny feet. I know someone with a foot fetish. They would love your feet.
In 4th grade, I learned about foot binding. During my childhood, I overheard conversations of men talking rudely about women with big feet. I decided right then in 4th grade, I was gonna foot bind myself. Not by folding my feet or breaking my bones or anything like that. Just by wearing the same shoes for 3 years. I wouldn't take them off when I went to bed. The only time I took them off was when I was gonna take a bath, and immediately after I put them right back on. I slept in them. It was painful. Sometimes when I took them off just for a minute, I swear I could feel my bones trying to stretch out, and I'd cram them back on. Not one person noticed for 3 years until I went in for my annual doctor's checkup. She told my mom to take me to a foot doctor specialist. He told my mom my shoes were too small and she should make sure I had the appropriate size every year. Duh.
Foot binding is a historical ritual women in China did to each other starting when a girl is 3 up to 7 years old. Toes were broken and folded under the foot, and it was wrapped. The goal was for the foot to be 6 inches long and twice as tall, since half their foot was folded underneath. This was considered highly erotic.
Foot binding was crippling. Strangely, it improved a daughter's chances of attracting a husband. There are so many ways to modify the human body. Did you know babies will get a flat spot on the back of their heads if you never take them out of their crib? I've seen it. It's repulsive and so neglectful.
I remember when I started going through puberty, I had ugly duckling syndrome. I went from awkward, weird-looking kid to good-looking. Lots of curves. I had breasts before everybody else. I had, as some relatives call them, birthing hips. I would do squats to make it look more full. I wanted that firm, cute booty. So many girls at my school were wearing, I don't know if you remember that trend, pink on the butt, those sweatpants. The boys like to watch the girls do the pink dance. Basically, when you go up the stairs and your butt jiggles, the word pink jiggles with it. I wanted that. I wanted the boys to look at my butt because that's what society told me to do. Rachel, you have a small waist. Did you bind it too?
Yes, I did unintentionally. I worked at the Renaissance festivals starting when I was 13. I did not know about corset training, but by the time I was 30, I had a perfect hourglass figure from wearing those damn corsets for 10 hours a day all weekend.
Women in the Victorian era were essentially tiny waisted figurines, unable to work, stand for a very long time, climb stairs, or ride horses. When you wear a corset long term, your internal organs shift permanently. It is easy to view a gender as weak when they faint from exertion. We replace the corset with cosmetic surgery. We are still changing our bodies using painful remedies to please men.
We are most pleasing when we are crippled. People are going to ask if waist training is dangerous. If you're the type of person who doesn't listen to your own body, then you're a danger to yourself no matter what you do. If you have that personality type, I'm unwilling to offer you any sort of advice. You get none from me, sorry. For everyone else, waist training is not dangerous. Just be smart about it and don't hurt yourself.
Can you imagine raising kids while you're trapped in a corset?
That has to be why they had nannies.
Have you ever had piercings? And how did it affect your relationships?
I used to have tongue, nose, belly button and ear piercings. My belly button piercing grew out, like my body just rejected it. I have a miniature scar from it. My hair, when I was sleeping, would wind around my nose piercing and pull it. That hurt like a bitch, so I took that one out. I eventually took my tongue piercing out and then got it re-pierced and then took that out several years later.
Did getting your tongue piercing hurt?
My tongue swelled up after I got it pierced because I grind my teeth in my sleep, which I found out after I got the piercing. I was living in Colorado at the time in this tiny little town called Larkspur. I woke up in the morning and needed to go to the post office for a stamp. On the way there, I realized my tongue was swollen. I was thinking about how to ease the pain, reduce the swelling. I get to the post office and the sweetest little old lady was there to help me. I walked up, started to ask for a stamp. What came out? Oh, I needed to buy a stamp. She just looks at me. I could tell she was hesitant about something. And I thought, okay, the only thing people need in this place are stamps. She's gonna figure this out pretty quick. So I ask her again. I need to buy a stamp. She's like, "Aw, sweetie, how can I help you? What do you need?" She's like looking around for my caretaker. She's talking to me like I have this mental disability, like I shouldn't have been there by myself, like I'm lost. She clearly isn't thinking, wow, I must need something post office related. So all of this is like pissing me off and I start spitting. I will need to buy a stamp. I'm not a retard. I just need a stamp. It's like the worst feeling, thinking that she's pitying me for being less than normal. It was a very strange feeling. I do not like being treated that way. It changed the way that I treat people, no matter what they sound or look like.
I noticed you were comfortable making jokes using the word retard. Is that okay in today's society?
It's not. The story happened that way. I said it under those circumstances. It changed my perspective on how I treat people. Inclusion and diversity is a real thing. We need to ask ourselves, what do they see and hear that I don't? Every perspective is valid and has value. When we can see the entire picture, the world will be whole and even science will improve.
You don't have to have the same outlook to have a valid observation of the universe.
I got a whole new perspective of society, men, and people in general when I decked out alternatively. I was born and grew up this glowing white angel. The only words I heard from people was how pretty I was. And when I started changing puberty, how sexy I was. I didn't know anything else. Piercings and tattoos changed that for me. For the first time in my life, I knew what it felt like to cause repulsion in people. It was mind-altering. Did your babies ever grab your piercings?
Yes. And it hurts so much. Did anyone assume that you were a lesbian while your tongue was pierced?
Yes, that is a thing. Several men just straight up assumed it. I didn't bother trying to convince those creepers otherwise.
So far, you've done it all. What about goth attire?
Not goth per se. I definitely spent years hiding my body under giant clothes like baggy sweatshirts. I owned goth boots. I had piercings. My hair was blue. I never identified as goth. At one point, I only owned goth foot attire, though. What about you, Kayla? Did you ever goth out?
I wasn't really goth, but I did fall into that emo category. That was the hyper emotional, very dramatic. They had the swoopy hair look. I only got away with so much of that, though. My mom was pretty particular about my hair. It was a lot of dark clothes and band t-shirts. Got judgmental looks. Like I was a problem child. Like there was something wrong with me because I was alternative and emo. Like I was some kind of 2 steps away from a psychotic break and hurting somebody for really no reason. It was just dark clothes and hairstyles.
At one point in my life, I spent all my money on these goth boots. It's the only shoes that I had to wear. And it was the same year that my sister got married. And to this day, she thinks that I did it on purpose. She thinks I wore these big ass goth boots to her wedding. I didn't have anything else. I was so broke and I had just driven from Texas to Washington. She's like, oh, you don't have $6 to go get a 6 pair of shoes? I'm like, bitch, you don't have $6 to get me a pair of shoes? I drove across the country for this shit. I have like 20 cents to my name, and I don't know how I'm going to get back across the country. I had to borrow money from my brother. She could have just offered to buy me pink ballet slippers. I would have worn them. It's okay to ask if you can purchase shoes for the overall look of things if you truly care how a relative is dressing for your special occasion.
Who is it that starts clothing stereotypes? Where do these trends come from?
I'll tell you where. When my son was 9 years old, he had this pair of Boy Scout pants that would unzip into shorts. There was a morning I kept nagging him to get ready for school so I could walk him to get to school on time. He could only find one leg of these pants. After 20 minutes, I'm like, fine, just wear your one-legged pants to school. We're not going to be late. I don't care. So we're walking to school. We're passing the bus stop that has all the high school kids waiting for their bus. There's this particular kid there every day. She's a little alternative. She's got the hair, the clothes that are different than everyone else. She sees my kid and starts snickering to herself, but she also can't stop staring at him the whole time we're passing. The next day, I kid you not, this girl has on a black pair of jeans with one leg cut off and rolled up into shorts. I almost died. I bet her mom had a fit when she realized her daughter cut off a leg of her jeans and then wore them to school.
All right. Do you find tattoos attractive? Do you have cosmetic surgery? How many piercings do you have? Would you find your partner more attractive if they did waist training? What is your favorite body part? And what surgery would you get if it was free? Write to us on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram.
Let's take a quick commercial break and we'll be right back. And we're back. How many of our listeners were told that they were beautiful as children and then repeatedly got molested? What do children learn from that lesson? I've heard too many people ask, why do you want to go and do that to yourself? It's so unattractive. When being pretty is the other alternative, yeah, I kind of want to be ugly here. The science community wanted to know how many people with body art were abused as children. The numbers are high, and why wouldn't they be? When you're beautiful and they're perverted to you and they destroy your mind, what's better? To be ugly or beautiful?
I mentioned it earlier. I was ugly duckling. I was a long and lanky kid. I had all my growth spurts early in life, and I'm all legs. My torso is tiny. It's my legs. So I was gangly. I tripped. I was just not cute. I got picked on. The boys teased me. They made fun of my long hair. They made fun of the fact that I wore certain clothes. I just felt ugly all the time. Then puberty hit, and all of a sudden I had all these boys flirting with me. They were bringing me candies. They were being cute. And I didn't know what the hell was going on. And then one of my friends said, ugly duckling syndrome. So when you're ugly as a kid, you grow up and become a beautiful swan and everybody wants you.
I was tired of being molested, catcalled, groped by entitled jerks. I became something society wrinkled their nose at.
It's interesting. You started out cute. You were pretty. People went after you. I was the other way. Boys wouldn't even consider kissing me on the playground like some other girls. But as soon as I went through puberty and things changed, I was wanted, and I liked it because I wasn't wanted before. You went from being wanted as a kid to wanting nothing to do with being pretty because of the way you were treated.
The grass was greener on the other side for both of us. It was such a relief to know that there was a way to stop the magnetic attraction of abusers' hands. It felt great. I pierced my tongue, my belly button. I developed strength and confidence in myself. The uglier I was to society, the more I loved myself and the more safe I felt. I gained self-confidence. I became powerful. And the stronger I got, I started removing these temporary modifications. My hair is naturally blonde again. My piercings are all gone. I cover most of my tattoos during the day with the clothes I wear. No one even knows I have tattoos until I want them to.
People have completely different reasons for getting their body art. People have completely different results from getting their body art. It won't protect you from assault.
It was not the tattoos that saved me. I saved myself. But the tattoos were a huge factor. I was no longer this pure white angel everyone wanted to own and defile. I needed the tattoos to learn about society. With tattoos, I'm now this sexualized white trash girl with an edge to be nutted on, which I don't know why, but it's far less creepy, let me tell you, than being this angel that everyone wants to defile. Could not possibly go into the whys and wherewithals around that. I just know that I like this a lot better than that. Do what you need to do to find your own inner strength. You don't need tattoos, but if you need to do temporary modifications to see that difference, try it.
Body modification is a beacon, alarm, and control tactic. It can invite molestation, deter sexual assault, or be a form of sexual assault. Not all tattoos are wanted. We brand other humans for destructive, hateful reasons. Concentration camps did this. We did this with slavery. Not everyone in prison wanted their prison tattoo. Not every gang member wanted their tattoos. Not every child around the world wanted their body modification. Be it piercings, scarification, neck elongation, tattoos, or genital mutilation. Rites of passage are wonderful when people participate. When a modification is forced on an individual, it is repugnant.
Society can dismiss the abuses of forced modification by claiming individuals grow into like the modification. It's part of the village. They're part of our society. Everyone's doing it. They can't just be an outsider. It shows that they belong.
Some religions require body modification, while other religions forbid it. Each culture has its own beauty standards and rituals. Warriors are marked accordingly for the world to see where they fit into society. Anyone getting body modification needs to be in the right mindset, or it will hurt like hell. Usually just having your mind made up that you're going to do it is sufficient enough to bear the pain easier.
It was easy for me to put myself in a mindset of always being in pain when I was a child, because as a girl, you hear the motto, beauty is pain. Like, I never let pain bother me. If it is forced onto you, I don't imagine getting into the mindset is very easy. If somebody was like, yes, well, it's our culture to do genital mutilation, we're gonna cut your clit off now, I'd be freaking the fuck out. I'd be like, you're gonna what? Like, my pain never induced rage, hate, or demoralization.
Is it okay to pierce babies' ears?
I pierced my son's ear when he was 6 months old.
I have a random philosophical question. What separates you from them?
Me from who?
I mean, anyone from anyone else. Tribes from other tribes. Obedient citizens from those who will not conform. The brave from the weak. What is the easiest way to show a human being their body is not their own?
Their skin. I am inside of my body, packaged in my skin.
Any marking, branding, symbol, or modification is a non-verbal message.
When a woman cuts off or alters her hair in a significant way, the automatic assumption is she just got out of a serious and painful relationship.
Women wear engagement rings. Men don't. He only has to wear a ring after he signs his signature on the contract. All the subtle jabs to keep us in our place. Skin is social. In many cultures, skin does not always belong to an individual. In tribes, it can be a given that you will get decorated as the years go by and ritual calls for it.
Cultural identity starts with the way we look. Take freckles, for instance.
Freckles are natural, not a modification.
But it lets others know your ancestry. Most redheads do not appreciate the stereotype of their coloring. Shy, nervous girls hate it when men approach them, treating them like they should be this sexually aggressive savage in the sheets. It's like, I'm just me. Please stop stereotyping me.
Skin color, hair texture, circumcision, biker tattoos, fake boobs all convey community, rank, privilege, and wealth. We know this. Society rewards the good little girls lining up to get unnecessary procedures done because they are obediently trying to look like pretty little girls. Girls with fake noses are good girls. Girls with tattoos are bad girls. And all the stereotyping in between.
To me, it feels like one lines up for pain that puts them in chains, and the other lines up for pain that sets them free.
What about body modification in the entertainment business? Acrobatic training in China starts at 5. The shaping and morphing of their bodies is body modification. Migrant working parents might drop their kids off at an acrobat school hoping the kid has a better life. Divorced parents might feel like it gives the kids a chance. Troop leaders see themselves as a free home for children who have sketchy futures due to their home environment. or lack thereof. These troops are becoming controversial in China because of the lives these kids end up having. Retired acrobats say that the troops they came from exploited them, working them long hours with little pay, using dangerous or old equipment that would break, causing injuries. They talk about having been beaten and emotionally abused and not being able to go to school.
Acrobatic troops are not much different than the dance troops or gymnastic troops. Some prefer the financial opportunities compared to the lives that their parents have, while others just feel used and abused. It's not just that we're telling these kids that they're only valuable as entertainment commodities. They literally have no value outside the entertainment industry, just like their parents have no value outside of migrant work.
There's only so much wealth to go around. Patricia Collins points out the duality of body modification. She notes its ability to oppress a gender, race, or class of people, while simultaneously allowing other groups of people using it to resist oppression.
Entire cultures can declare a body modification fundamental or inherent to their culture.
Where should the line be drawn? Ear piercings for infants, foot binding, acrobats, corset binding? Is it okay for an entire society to brainwash children into believing a certain shape and size are the correct proportions for a woman to have? And if they don't have it, they may opt to spend exorbitant amounts of money to alter their bodies with painful surgery to get that size and shape. Why is it so important for Americans, fresh young adults, to get surgery on their noses, mouths, foreheads, eyes, cheeks, necks, upper arms, tummies, thighs, tits, and asses?
All to attract the attention of powerful men in our society.
If they were that powerful, wouldn't they use that power for good and declare all the women of their society beautiful?
I have this inherent belief, despite all of the abuse that I've endured by the hands of men, that men should protect their women. So why is abuse so widespread? Why is this domination so important? Is a quick nut every 24 hours really all that consuming for there to be this need for so many forms of abuse? Mental, self-image, physical, emotional, sexual. It goes on and on. Why must we prance and dance for their lame-ass fake short attention spans? We cause actual self-harm just so they will want to come on our faces. That's not love. It's not love.
We haven't brought up body hair yet. Is modifying your hair a form of body modification?
The women out there who deal with the white women beauty standards might have a few things to say about that.
So, yes?
Yes, when I was in beauty school, the Latinos would wax their arms because they hated their thick, dark arm hair. I was traumatized realizing these women would spend their entire lives waxing their arms, their legs, their hooches, their lips, their cheeks, their backs. I'm lucky in this society. I've got little, thin, blonde hair. It's basically see-through. I love not having to dye my hair to keep it blonde. It's just blonde. I love not having to wax my little mustache. It takes me 2 seconds every morning just to little shave it off. 3 days later, it goes back, shave it off again. Like nobody even notices it. It's easy to pluck the 15 beard hairs that I have growing on my chin. Hell, I'm not even sure anyone would notice if I didn't shave my legs. My leg hair is so thin and white and light, see-through.
My hair is its natural color, which is excessively dark brown. Guess what? So is my body hair. My body hair is actually closer to my eyebrow hair, which is even darker. I can't go more than 2 days without shaving my legs or armpits or any other part of my body because unfortunately I have something called hirsutism, basically meaning my body grows excess body hair in a more male-like pattern than female. This really started to bother me around 6th grade when I had a boy ask me why I had dark hair on my upper lip. That was pretty embarrassing. 6th grade girl, almost crying over my little mustache hairs. Constantly having to maintenance my body. Even my arm hair is dark. It's terrible. It sucks. I hate it. But society says I can't have it.
When my brother asked me if I wanted to hold his baby, I actually told him to wax his newborn. So I'm standing in his living room. I'm so excited to meet the baby. And he brings it over and hands it to me. And as soon as I held this baby, my only thought was, why is it so hairy? It had this dark, thick hair on its face, its back, its arms. Like, I'd never seen such a thing on a baby before. It freaked me out. I was repulsed. The women in his family use skin lightener products. I know why, but I don't understand it. Why do we allow the media to tell us this is necessary? Why do we listen? Why do fully grown adult women fall for this and let their daughters see, hear, and believe it? Why would a full-grown woman tell his brother to wax his baby? My last marriage was to a man with the last name Hernandez. For the first time in my life, I experienced discrimination due to a name. Me, a beautiful all-American white girl, suddenly could not procure a job. Under the name Hernandez, I was consistently offered less per hour or simply not called in for an interview. Once I figured that shit out, once I figured out what was going on, I started submitting 2 resumes, one under my maiden name and one under my married name. I would get job offers under my maiden name. When I applied for jobs offering $30 per hour under Hernandez, nothing. No interview, no call. Sure, I could get job offers with the name Hernandez for $13 an hour, but not more.
The stress of discrimination affects relationships. All these little jabs tear at one's self-esteem, patience levels, and need for validation. These are not things we bring up when we are arguing about who should do the dishes or when the last time we had sex was.
One discrimination I have never been subject to is what someone transitioning has to go through.
I haven't been through it either, but I have a few friends and even a family member who have gone through it. Getting people to call them by their name they have chosen through their transition and not their dead name. People struggle with he, she, they, them. Even people questioning who they are, what they are, or why they made this choice. How does making the transition and transgender body modification affect relationships? The European Network for the Investigation of Gender Incongruence is the largest study of transgender people in the world. This can shed light on the difference between the sexes. All we have to do is listen to the details of people going through this during these changes. These are walking data systems able to speak about the gender differences.
Transitioning literally can help us understand what it means to be male or female. These individuals feel the differences firsthand.
I have been told men and women have the same brains.
No, that's not true. One article states men and women use different parts of their brains to rotate objects in their minds, which means when Krukel's group scanned the brains of a group of 21 transgender boys who had recently begun testosterone treatment, found that their brains looked more like those of cisgender boys.
I read an article that says brain scans indicate pre-op transgenders are one sex, but their body different sex. Female brains have estrogen receptor pathways. This receptor pathway helps show the incongruence between a person's internal gender and their external sex. They are experiencing dysphoria because the gender they feel on the inside does not match their external sex.
I would love to hear the very specific details of a woman transitioning to male. I want to know if it turned them into an asshole.
Rachel!
But come on, do they get aggressive? Do they get domineering? Do they get this entitled feeling to take what they want sexually? Do they grow predatory instincts?
If you have any insights to any of this, please tell us your stories. If you prefer TikTok or YouTube, we have both.
And we're going to take a commercial break. We'll be right back. And we're back. Before we finish up this conversation on how body modification affects relationships, I want to speak to mental modification. My ex needs a specific set of circumstances to have his romantic life function in his favor. He spends 2 months grooming someone to love him. The moment she professes her love, he starts grooming the second woman. The second woman is groomed specifically to be the unknown side hoe. He balances this just so to make sure the second woman yearns for his attention, is waiting at his beck and call, and believes his mental medical needs are of utmost importance and come before any of her needs. The second woman is only allowed over to his apartment 1 night per week. His excuses are his kids, his work, his delicate mental state. He admits in the first few dates that he's an alcoholic, schizoid, takes medications for anxiety and depression. Once she knows her place and is pining for more, he can stop pretending to love the first woman who believes she is his girlfriend. At this point, he can finally be himself. He's got 2 chicks, one that thinks she's his girlfriend, the other one who thinks she's about to be his girlfriend. He can be cold, distant, controlling. Once he had time, energy, and devotion, he's now tired and busy and wondering why she's a nagger. It's important she knows she's being a whiner. This is when he is functionally happy. His backup woman gives him the confidence to treat his main first woman like shit. He can dead eye her with the attitude, my way or the highway, bitch, because there's a side hoe waiting desperately for his attention, wanting to be his girlfriend. It is at this moment when the next 2 years go exactly as planned for him. Both women compete for his breadcrumbs. He has passionate pussy waiting in 2 places. When one tries to assert her place in the relationship, he can give her time to think while letting the other woman in closer for a taste of a heaping help of breadcrumbs that feels like an actual relationship for a minute. He plays them both for years, and if at any moment one shows signs of exiting, he starts grooming her replacement.
Today's episode speaks to the undertow of what they will do to us by wanting us to get plastic surgery and Botox, corset training or foot binding, genital mutilation or face scarification. They are willing to cut up our bodies head to toe so that we are easier on the eyes and cause a sexually exciting boner. It goes deeper than that, doesn't it?
They do this in a way that is so deeply rooted into our psyche that we do this to ourselves willingly. Our dating advice for today? You're all fucked in the head and there is no help for you. Have a nice day.
This is the point in our episode where we share audience stories, suggestions, and feedback. Here is what some of you have shared with us on social media. One of our followers shared, "Body modification is a fascinating thing. Some people do it to make a statement, much like we wear our favorite band t-shirts. It helps the outcasts find each other, like putting a pride sticker on your car. Other people do it to fit in, meet cultural norms and expectations. Some people do it for the experience, enjoying the feeling of a tattoo or piercing, while others do it for the outcome. Body modification is both incredibly personal and widely communicative." One listener comments on her opinions on body modification. "I have 6 tattoos and 1 piercing in each ear. Tattoos are addicting. I'm desperate for more. It's been 4 years since my last one thanks to pregnancy, breastfeeding, COVID, and now money. Of course, 5 of my tats have significant meaning behind them. Wouldn't get one just for the heck of it, except my first, but even that has some significance in my life."
I would like to introduce next week's episode, episode 16. What is sex?
You are so weird. There is no way we can talk about what is sex for an entire hour. I can tell you what sex is in one hand gesture. I learned it in 3rd grade.
You underestimate my twisted little mind, don't you? We will talk about what the definition of sex is for an entire hour, and you will be upset, flabbergasted, insulted, and intrigued, all in the same hour.
I believe you. All right, next week. What is sex?
I would like to ask our listeners to please submit your ideas, stories, and questions pertaining to next week's topic. You can email us, join our Patreon. We want to hear from you. What is your definition of sex?
Thank you so much, everyone, for listening. If you got anything out of this episode, please give us some love, subscribe, and rate us.
We love you! See you next week on Dating Hypothesis.